Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Robinson. I'm a firefighter. I've been in the fire service for almost 30 years. The reason I'm here today is because I want to talk to you about fireground rehab and how important it is. Back in 2010, I was on a house fire and my partner almost died in front of me with heat stroke. And we were fighting this fire. We were both interior at the time, and our air bottles went off. And we exited the structure to change our air tanks, and my partner fell. I thought he tripped on the stairs, but he didn't trip. I nudged him, and he didn't move, and I rolled him over, and he was unconscious. And I knew we had a problem. And we dragged him away from the house and started removing his gear and noticed how red he was. And I knew then that he was having a heat issue. And we, at the time, this was in 2010, I just transferred from a volunteer fire department after being a volunteer firefighter for 15 years. And at that day, I had had 19 years in the fire service when my partner fell. So it concerned me and it changed my life. That day did something to me. I've seen a lot of death in my career as a firefighter, but when it was my partner and my close friend, it really hit home. And so what I did is I knew we needed something to help us cool off. We had nothing. We had some bottled waters, which were lukewarm, and at the time, and a wet towel we had around his neck. That's all we had to cool him. We couldn't afford misting fans. We couldn't afford cool chairs. There's a lot of products out there that help with lowering core temperatures. That's our problem. And I came to find that out after that day. So the next day I went to my fire truck and I knew I wanted to build something or make something to help us cool off because I didn't want this to happen. We almost lost him the day before. And this is something I've been dealing with for many years in the fire service, by the way. But what I did is I went to my truck and I looked at it. And as a firefighter, number one, firefighters are problem solvers. That's all we do. Every call is different. We're trained to help and protect. So if it's a medical, if it's a fire, no matter what, we have to solve the problem. So, and we have to use tools to do a number of different things to help us. So one tool could do 10 different things to help us perform our duty better. So when I looked at my fire truck, I saw the pump panel and I said, well, I want some water to cool us. And I saw one of the caps on the discharge. We didn't have the hose hooked to it. And I took that cap off. And I drilled it and I put 6 misting nozzles in it and I put it back on my fire truck. I turned my engine on, I charged my pump, and I didn't have a clue what it was going to do. When I charged the line, it put out a mist cloud about 8 foot by 6 foot in circumference. And when I saw this, I was amazed. And I put my hand in that mist cloud and it was so cold, I couldn't believe it. It was pushing air and water. And now I come to find out after testing, we lowered the temperature 30 degrees in that mist cloud, which was huge for us. I called my captain and I said, please come to the station. Now, this is what I was with Real Metro Fire Department, who I've been with until this day. And I called my captain, he came out. I said, let me show you what I made after the call we had yesterday and after the issue we had. And he looked at me and told me, I want you to build one of these for every truck in our fleet. And at the time, we had at least 35 trucks in our fleet. We're a county coverage, and we have many stations. So I was like, that's going to take me some time. He said, no problem, build them. And he says, another thing you need to do is you need to go get a patent. And I said, a patent? He said, yes, because I never intended to sell this. So I applied for a patent, and within 2 weeks, I got a letter back from the patent office. And they said, you can sell your product now. You have a patent pending. I was like, wow, this is awesome. So we built a website the next day. We started working on our website, and we built a brand. And today, well, let me back up a little. We started the company. and Heat Seeker Technology Design LLC was formed. And it was started with 3 firefighters. Well, basically my idea, and I've had help with my lieutenant and my oldest son, who's a career firefighter, by the way. I have three sons who are all in the fire department. My oldest is a battalion chief today and a captain. So the next step was to go online and sell. Well, everybody came to me, every fire magazine, every news crew did articles and commercials with the news on my product, and it went viral. Within the first month, every magazine in the fire world was contacting me wanting to do articles, which they did. 2 months later, I got contacted by Popular Science magazine. They said they want to do an article. They flew in and they filmed for a whole day. They had, there was like 6 of them that came. And they did an interview with me. It was at least a day long. They did video and pictures. And after that, I was contacted by a writer. Her name was Nicole Dyer. And she told me she was going to do the article on me. Well, Nicole talked to me for almost a month nightly and asked me everything about how I started and where I'm going and what I want to do. Well, come to find out, it wasn't just an article. It was an invention award. Every year, Popular Science magazine, one of the #1 tech magazines in the world, by the way, they hold an invention award. And they pick 10 inventors in the world that's helping humanity. I won that 3 months after my first patent. That was my first award, and it was huge for me. And Popular Science magazine has over 7 million subscribers. My website crashed twice. I took off. I was up and running. And within the next month, I was selling internationally. My first international sale was Shell Oil Company in Doha, Qatar, at the refinery plant. They have strike teams. They have their own fire department inside the plant because they can't wait for anyone else to come. And they purchased my cooling products for the strike teams. So that took off, and that's where we went. And we just took off running. Today, I have my products in almost every state in the US, and I'm in over 60 countries overseas with this, helping people. One thing that's so important about this is to get back to firefighter rehab, why we need this, is we wear gear to protect us from the elements. And this gear, every year, they're building more and more to protect us, and they're lining them thicker and they're making them stronger. But what's happening is our bodies are cooking. We know this as firefighters. This is our big problem. Annually, over 50% of firefighters die of heart attacks. That's one of our #1 killers. Cancer's moving up to #1 if it's not there now. It's fast. So before it was cardiac was our #1 killer. Slips, trips, and fall was #2, which that falls into place with what we're doing with heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Because when you start to have these issues with heat, if you don't cool properly and rehab properly, your body shuts down. And us as firefighters, we don't quit. We don't know what stop is. We continue until we fall. This is where we're falling short. Now, firefighter rehab, we need to make this a tactical consideration, because this problem is everywhere. It's not just on the fire grounds, it's at training centers, okay? We have cadets dying with this problem. I am now an advocate on this. You know, this is what's going on. This is reality. And I'm sure everybody can relate to this, because we know we have firefighter fatalities and we try to lower these. And every year, you know, we're trying to lower this number, but it keeps getting bigger because we're falling short because of manpower. This is the problem. So we're changing directions on our tactical moves on firefighting. We are now adding more trucks to calls on fire scenes, so we have more support. Back in the day, in the volunteer departments, this is so important. This is how I started with this. Over 70% of all firefighters in the United States is volunteer. It's probably more now. That's a big number. Volunteer departments don't have nothing. They have no money. I can tell you firsthand, I was a volunteer 15 years in 2 fire departments. We had to knock door to door, and we had to do boot drives. We had to do spaghetti dinners. And I'm going to here to tell you, we had no money every month, even for fuel. Now, this is the dedication of a volunteer firefighter. We don't make nothing. We make zero. That's not why we do this. I didn't join this fire department because I want to get paid. I joined it because I want to help people. But I put my life at risk every day to do this, and I have to be protected. So to get back to volunteer departments, this is a touchy subject because I'm here to tell you, I couldn't tell you how many times we had to go in our pockets to put fuel in the truck to run calls. This happens every day. This is reality. So with that said, volunteer departments have nothing. We do more with less every day. We don't have misting fans. We don't have cool chairs. We don't have anything to help us but what we bring. So I'm here to tell you, on so many fires over the years, manpower is an issue in volunteer departments. So that put your resources to a minimum. If I couldn't tell you how many fires I've been on over the years, when we only had 3 or 4 or 5 guys working a whole fire, that's unheard of. Back in the days, and this is still happening today, you know what my rehab was? We didn't have coolers. We didn't have Gatorade. We had nothing. We had nothing. We had to drink out of our hand lines. That was my rehab. We had to turn our hand line off and get it water or drink. That's how we replenished ourselves. We didn't have it. We didn't have rehab trucks coming out and setting up. We didn't have it. The money's not there. Now, most departments have this. And some departments, but I'm here to tell you, majority of departments don't have the manpower and the funding to have this happen. So this is where we're falling short. Now, I'm just talking about cooling and replenishing and rehab. I'm not talking about anything else. There's so many things we need. So with that said, we're taking a different direction. We're checking temperatures now at rehab, which we weren't doing for a long time. And I believe I had a big part with that, by the way, because I've been doing this for quite some time now, many years, and I voice myself and they're hearing me. So that's added to the 1584 standard now, which is the rehabilitation standard on firefighter rehab. Before, we were just taking, blood pressures and rehabbing and making sure, everybody's okay, and then we send them back in. But that's not in depth is what we need to do. Now, what we have to focus on is we're adding new trucks. Every time we have a fire in a paid department and with Metro, usually we send out 5 to 6 trucks on an assignment. Now we're sending 1 to 2 trucks more on every assignment for manpower because we have to switch out. We have to 1 air tank and break. No more of this going back in 2 or 3 times and 2 or 3 bottles. This is where we're falling short here with rehab. So we're changing the firegrounds and we're bringing in manpower, but this is still not getting away from volunteer departments. They don't have that luxury because volunteers have to have a job. They have to feed their families. So most of the time, it's very limited. So where we are today is I'm building products to help people, and I'm taking it to sports fields for our high school kids. We're having issues there. I'm taking it to law enforcement. They have the same problem we do. They're almost like RoboCop now. They're cooking inside. Our military, same thing. Their fatalities and their injuries at their training camps and their boot camps is just the same as firefighting. Heart attacks, heat exhaustion. It's everywhere. Climate change has caught up to us now. So heat is now the #1 killer in the world for any weather-related fatality or injury. That is now the #1. So we are all focused on this. This is very important. So what we're doing now is we must lower our body temperatures. So my products are all geared to this, and I'm building other products that are going to help us. I'm attacking cancer in the fire service now. I'm also building products we need to monitor. This is the big deal here. We need to monitor firefighters constantly. We can't overlook this. This is where we're falling short. On scenes, the station, and at home. So, with that said, my products are going to help firefighters. We're going to lower core temperatures. We're going to help them cool off, and we're going to help them to rehab. If anyone would like to talk to me about this or know a little bit more about what I'm doing, you can contact me at mike@heatseekerh2o.com. That's Michael Robinson. And I really hope that we can work together and make the firegrounds a safer place. Thank you all for listening to me, and stay safe out there on the firegrounds.